The reason why you can't score against mismatches like Luka Doncic does is because you don't understand what to read according to who you're going against. So in this video, we're going to break down how Luka Doncic is able to attack mismatches that are bigs, the power forwards and centers, and how he's also able to attack mismatches that are guards and wings, from the point guards, shooting guards to small forwards, in his first game back in Dallas against the Mavericks. In this matchup against the Mavericks, Luka Doncic is going to attack Lively the most because he's his most favorable matchup. So notice how he attacks the 5-man. In this first possession, he goes left and ends up getting a switch on the Lively, but before he attacks, he has to wait for Hayes. So notice over these next 8 plays how Luka Doncic reads the floor. So once Hayes gets towards that free throw line, Luka Doncic gets low, delays his tween, and now he attacks, because now by the time Luka gets to that free throw line, Hayes will be spaced right next to the rim to be a lob threat. But since he doesn't have an angle to throw that lob, he just stays patient in the paint, bumps Lively, and gets straight to that floater. On the second possession, he goes left and gets a switch on the Lively again. And this time, Luka Doncic attacks left, where he's going to have no strong side corner help. But as he drives, his changes of pace doesn't get an angle on Lively so he can get to the rim, and he ends up having to give the ball up. But his attack is not done. And so this is where players like Stephen Curry has made such a great living in the NBA, where he gives the ball up, players relax, he relocates and gets an open shot. Luka Doncic does the same thing, where he now relocates to that corner, gets a catch and shoot opportunity, and knocks it down against Lively. On this third possession, Luka Doncic gets another screen to the right with Finney-Smith against Lively, but notice what PJ Washington now does. He ends up fighting over the screen, and he's able to stay somewhat in front of Luka. So this tells Derek Lively, I don't need to switch this. So what does Luka Doncic read as Lively moves over? That he's not fully in front of him, and he has a gap to that right side because Klay is guarding LeBron, and he's not going to play help off of LeBron. So now what Luka Doncic does is split that double, continuously make reads, and see AD step over and swing it to Rui Hachimura in that corner, and Rui knocks down that 3. On this fourth possession, Luka Doncic is on the right side and gets another screen from Finney-Smith and Lively. And so now off that screen, he gets a switch. So Luka now is going to wait for Finney-Smith to get spaced this time. So off this screen, he stays patient. Finney-Smith gets to that paint. And if you look at PJ Washington, he's not following Finney-Smith through. Rather, he's waiting for Luka to drive so he could be another help defender. And so once Luka makes that go to the right side, he reads PJ Washington. And instead of trying to finish at the rim, he's going to cut off Derek Lively, go up into a shot where he can now get to a line because Lively wasn't set and he gets called for a foul. In order to understand these next 2 plays where Luka attacks Lively, you have to understand the first possession and the fourth possession. If you look back at those plays, when Luka got the switch, the person who got switched off of him wouldn't follow the person who cut through to the rim. They would just stay underneath the rim, plug it up so that Luka can't get all the way over there and get a layup. So now once Luka subs back in the second quarter, he ends up going to his left side off the side out of bounds, gets a switch on the Lively, and now notice what Dorian Finney-Smith does. As he begins to cut through, he slows himself down so that he can be able to get to the body of PJ Washington, screen him in the paint, so now Luka can get to the rim and finish. 30 seconds later on his 6th attack against Derek Lively, Luka gets that switch off of Marshall onto Lively in the middle of the floor. So now Finney-Smith rolls hard to the rim, but he stops in the middle so that he can screen Najee Marshall as he drops back and watches Luka drive. So now Luka can get to that left side and get a layup right at the rim. On the 7th attack against Derek Lively, Luka's coming down in transition, but I want you to notice the spacing of the floor and particularly the defense. So as Luka gets left, look at Najee Marshall on that left side. He's running with his back turned guarding Braun. And so on top of the fact he's guarding strong side corner, he's also guarding Braun, so he's not going to help. And now on the right side, you have 3 defenders. So what direction should Luka go? He ends up going left in the same direction Lively is given up, but instead of just trying to lay it through him quickly, he cuts short, bumps Lively, then lays it so that Lively cannot be able to get himself balanced to block his shot. 30 seconds from that last possession, on the 8th attack against Derek Lively, Luka Doncic is at the top of the key, gets the switch from that screen from Hayes, but before Hayes makes his roll, I want you to pay attention to the defense and their behaviors. So as Hayes prepares to make that roll, Najee Marshall puts his hand into the air because he's anticipating a possible lob pass over the top to Hayes from Luka because he switched and wasn't able to get underneath. So now I want you to look at the right side. You have PJ Washington, who now is guarding LeBron. And since he's guarding LeBron, you know he's not going to play help. And now on that left side, you have Klay Thompson and Anthony Davis guarding on that same side. So logically, according to space, the only right way to go would be for Luka to attack this right side where there's a ton of space. And now since he is able to have room to turn that corner, he draws a foul against Lively and is able to go to the line. One thing that allows these elite NBA players to play at this high level is their hydration. Because through hydration, that dictates how well your body will be able to function while you're exerting so much energy. So if you want to be able to play at that high level as well, make sure that you go to drinklmnt.com/discipline, today's sponsor, and with any purchase, you'll be able to get a free sample pack. As a hooper and very active person myself, I always love to drink Element after my workouts. So all I'll do is I'll take my little thermal right here, wait till it's about halfway full, about 16 ounces, get me my stick pack, open it up, drop it in the bottle, close it, and now we're good to go. So make sure you go to drinklmnt.com/discipline where you'll get a free flavor sample pack with any purchase. And if you don't know what flavors to get, my favorite are watermelon, citrus, grapefruit, and raspberry. So go ahead and try those out. And once again, go to drinklmnt.com/discipline. On every single one of those attacks from Luka against Derek Lively, I want you to notice one thing. And that's every time Luka attacked him, he attacked Derek Lively in a straight line drive. Derek Lively did not even make him change any direction. He didn't cut him off. And Luka was able to get his angle off this first step. So now I want you to pay attention because now you even see LeBron with Lively. He backs out and he attacks Derek Lively in a straight line and is able to now get to the rim. So understand, now Luka Doncic is going to have to attack Anthony Davis, and notice how he has to attack AD with him being a better perimeter defender. After Derek Lively subs out in the first quarter, Luka Doncic now attacks AD. So now once he gets the switch off of PJ Washington, notice how he attacks Anthony Davis. He leads him to that left side, calm and relaxed. Then he gets into a hard split tween going to that right, stops again, brings it back for the step back, gets his separation for the shot, and is able to knock it down. Now in the second quarter, even though Lively is still in the game, Luka ends up getting a switch onto AD on that left wing. And now notice how he attacks AD in this isolation again. He ends up now jabbing right, going hard to that left, inverted drag to take himself back to that right side, create a gap to that middle, and now he's able to stop and get his body into AD and get that foul. So between those two possessions, the way he attacked Derek Lively were straight line drives. Why? Because Lively was a tad bit slower and not as good at angles as a perimeter defender. But when he has Anthony Davis, who is more agile and a better defender on the perimeter and interior, Luka Doncic had to lead him one direction and then change direction so that he could create his angle, get separation, or be able to create a lane for him to get to the rim. When Luka Doncic attacks guards and wings, he's going to take advantage of one defensive scheme, which is no strong side corner help. So on this possession, he goes right and gets a switch on Najee Marshall. And if you look at the spacing of the floor, you have Anthony Davis in the strong side corner. So not only is he not going to help, but he's also the Mavericks' rim protector. So that means if he's able to get past Najee Marshall, create a lane to the rim, he's going to get there and not have to worry about a rim protector. So after he attacks to this mid-range, slows down, changes pace, and finds that gap between Marshall and Anthony Davis, he gets that other side, lays with no worries about a shot blocker. On the second play, Luka Doncic gets a screen from Vanderbilt, and Daniel Gafford steps up so that they could blitz Luka Doncic off the screen. But since Gafford leaves room towards that right wing, Luka's able to turn the corner, and he has more room than it looks like because PJ Washington is not going to leave Finney Smith, who's a shooter, in the strong side corner, so he's not going to help at all. So Luka's able to get all the way down towards the rim, float over the top of Gafford, because remember, although Gafford is 6'10 and a shot blocker, Luka Doncic is about 6'7", 6'8". So he is able to, once he gets in the air, finish over the top of a big from that point with that space. On this third possession, Luka Doncic goes right and gets a switch on to Max Christie. And now his focus becomes PJ Washington and not Anthony Davis, because Anthony Davis is in the strong side corner and he cannot help. So Luka is going to wait until Austin Reeves is able to get down towards that rim and closer to being spaced so that he could have the option of giving the ball to Reeves. So once Reeves gets down towards that rim, Luka Doncic enters his attack, doesn't worry about Anthony Davis, keeps that ankle tight, and is able to take a slow 1-2 against PJ Washington. And since he jumps early, Luka Doncic is able to take another step and lay on that other side of the rim. Late in the fourth quarter with the Lakers up 14, Luka ends up going right, getting a switch on to Christie, bringing the ball out to half court, so now he can milk the clock. But now I want you to notice the help defense. If you look to Luka's right, you got Klay, who's a strong side corner, and we know will not help if Luka drives. But if you look to the left, you have Anthony Davis, which means that since he's guarding Braun on the perimeter, he cannot help protect the rim. So what is Luka going to do? Attack right, and so now since Klay won't help, he has a lane to the rim, and there's no rim protector down there to stop Luka from finishing, so now he's just able to float and get that too. Against guards and wings, how is Luka Doncic able to get a step back off, and what read does he make? So on these next two possessions, the Lakers are going to run practically the same play. So on this first one, Luka goes from that left side to the right side, gets a handoff from Braun, and now Martin ends up switching on to Luka. And now notice Martin's movement. As Luka goes right and begins to seem like he's going to turn the corner, you see Martin drop back. And so what Luka ends up doing is stopping, keeping that left foot planted down on the ground, and bringing that right foot back to that left. So now he's able to create space for that step back and knock it down. On the second possession, Luka comes down to the left side as the ball handler and gets a double screen from LeBron, then Reeves, and gets a switch on to Christie. And now as he begins to turn out that corner, Max Christie begins to also drop back. And this read tells Luka Doncic that if I keep that left foot down planted and he ends up bringing that right foot back, he'll now have even more space for a shot. And he does the same thing against Martin, against Christie, and is now able to knock that down. And that is the read for Luka when he makes those step backs. The reason why this knowledge on attacking is so important is because Hosea 4:6 says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." So the reason why you aren't thriving and have joy and peace as a player and person is because your lack of knowledge. And if you take basketball serious, but most importantly take this life even more serious, make sure you go to my channel description, join the school community, or the bottom of my video description, where I will coach you one-on-one and help you grow and not be destroyed by the evil one by your increase in knowledge. So discipline or regret, you choose.